All right, everyone. Hey, and welcome back to Crazy About the SWA. I'm your host, Crazy Ralph, and today I am joined by none other than Parriyah.
Hello, hello. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on. Episode 5, guest number 3. I think I got a good track record with guests, and I'm excited to have you on, Parriyah, because it provides a kind of unique opportunity to talk to the manager or whoever who's controlling the current world champion. So it'd be interesting to see your take on the current SWA landscape as it is.
Yeah, be happy to provide anything, any questions, anything that's necessary as, someone who has the champion, which I actually didn't expect that to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, like I always kind of thought that Painwrecker would make it all the way. It's just such emphatic fashion that he did it too. So
Yeah, that loss against Draven in season one kind of put an obstacle in the way, but managed to what's called avenge it. And now I'm here.
here
Thank
you
God.
are. So I've asked this of all my guests. I asked this of Tomato. I asked this of Nomad. What drew you in to the SWA? What was like the first? What was the thing that's like I want to be a part of this? What was the inspiration?
So the thing is, I've always been a sucker for like wrestling and like wrestling sims or just sim leagues in general. So as a kid, I watched a lot of wrestling. My favorite wrestler being Christian, hint the name I have on Discord right now.
Fair enough.
And that's kind of what I got inspired to make Painwrecker from. And back then, in like 2011, 2012, back when Facebook was still a thing, there's a game on there called Wrestler Unstoppable. It's where you make your own wrestler, you give it your own gimmick, everything, your own move set, and you just do the moves. You take your turns to call your spots, just have fun with other people on the game. That's where I made Painwrecker for the first time. And after a while, with how Facebook is kind of dying now, the game's
Right.
also kind of dying out. So I've kind of gave up on that. And when I saw SWA being a thing, I said to myself, hey, this could be a good chance to bring out Painwrecker again, because he was a pretty good character I had. He was a multiple time world champion in different companies in that game. I think like 7-time world champion and one, 2-time intercontinental champion. I can't remember the rest, not that much anyway. But yeah, so I kind of played off the whole Facebook thing dying off as Painwrecker receiving a somewhat career-ending injury
Oh,
to
okay.
the spine and his back at like only 27 years old, and it's really abrupt.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided later on, even though, as I mentioned in the biography, even though it was career-ending, he kind of shrugged it off. And when he got an offer to join the SWA, he decided to take the chance, even though, his spine's kind of fucked up still. And now it's kind of like fast forwarded 6 years later to when he was 32 years old. So at 32 years old, he decided to come to the SWA and be a participant. And that
Okay.
was when he had his first match against Tomiya Yamaguchi in the inaugural tournament.
Right.
And now, considering it's been 3 seasons,
Yeah, just
he's
the
now
beginning. Yeah.
yeah he came from season one, not season three. So now he's 34 years old, managed to recover from a injury that is pretty much career ending, which also gives his name Painwrecker a bit of a credit because he's known for his longevity, his resiliency, and
Right.
just overall being able to take punishment. He's like the opposite of a glass cannon. He doesn't hit very hard, but he can last long, and if the opponent cannot outlast them, then they'll just tire themselves out, and then Painwrecker takes advantage of it. That's kind of his shtick. But yeah, that's basically what drew me into the SWA, just being a sucker for wrestling sims
For
and
that
all that.
like kind of creation aspect and then creating the character and
Yeah, just having my own guide, like having my own character that I can control in the wrestling world, it's a fun little thing.
I agree wholeheartedly. Here we both are. um, it seems to be a theme amongst all of my guests. They got their start either watching wrestling, obviously, or you kind of have to like wrestling to be into this kind of stuff. But this is the first like Facebook group game creation thing. So that sounded fun. I'm a little sad I missed out on that. I never really had a Facebook when I was growing up, and I honestly I'm probably better for it. but
Yeah,
um,
yeah, bro.
but it sounds like there was a lot of fun to be had back in the day before it was kind of going the way of the dodo. Um, but all right, so little bit of a backstory on Painwrecker there. I want to talk about him a little bit later, but let's kind of hop into a quick breakdown of episode 37, if you don't mind. Um,
Yeah, that's fine with me.
and I just kind of get your take on some of the matches because obviously you have some skin in the game uh, in one of these matches as well as some implications for a future match that Painwrecker will have to face. So I'll be interested to hear your opinions on those matches. But we'll start it off episode 37 with a brutal backstage attack from Void onto the Ace, where they took it into the locker room. Void uh, saw the Raw logo on the TV, and he was just pissed, and he kept throwing Ace into the TV, trying to break it. But sounds like Ace is in the hospital, and he's not. We're not going to hear from him in a little while. So I'm wondering what your thoughts on Void and like his backstage attack are going into season 3 here.
Well, Boyd's move was definitely dirty and I actually didn't expect it. So it was kind of a shocker, but same time, Void is gonna avoid. So it is what it is. But luckily, we heard from Ace tweeting out that he was injured and like sidelined for a while, but he should be fully recovering soon, and he is definitely gonna be looking to get revenge on Void. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm excited to see the kind of back and forth from Ace and Void, obviously because they share the same managing partner in Nomad's managing circle, uh, and kind of, I guess, well documented that Void wanted to share the manager with Ace, maybe to get a little bit closer access to him. So we'll see what develops there from those for both those camps. But for the moment, I guess Ace is going to be out for a little while, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. On to the next match. First sanctioned match. Zayn Ryder versus Raccoon. Singles action for both of these guys. Both of the rookies. They each won their respective triple threat rookie showcase to fight each other. And I think this was Zayn all the way. I thought Raccoon capitalized a lot on some of the external offense that he had some offense of his own, but he capitalized on some of the other offense from the other wrestlers in his match, and he couldn't do that here. So I think his kind of sneaky Eddie Guerrero-esque kind of trickery doesn't work out as well in like a one-on-one where Zayn just kind of ran roughshod over him. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Zayn definitely outmatched Raccoon, and I'll be honest, me and Nano do have our like banter, so even though like we kind of talk shit to each other every now
Mm-hmm.
and then, I was still kind of rooting for Raccoon because I like Raccoon a lot. But unfortunately, the Boogeyman's son, Zayn Ryder, got the best of him. But
That's true.
I'm not too surprised because Zayn is really good at wrestling, and he's one of the better rookies in my opinion. And I think he's definitely gonna be making an impact in the main card, maybe main event soon.
It's true. Yeah, I think Zayn has kind of showed up as one of the predominant new rookies in the rookie class. So it'll be interesting to see his career unfold, and hopefully Raccoon can kind of recover from this one a little bit, bounce back in his next match. Um, but we'll see. Next match was Yasuke Bozeman versus Brian Strong. Brian Strong had been on kind of a big push. He won 2 of 2 in his first 2 matches. Um, took down Raj Rajwana and I believe Starman for his matches, and then got a shot at Bozeman for Path to Glory honors, but I think the latter of which the skill of the wrestlers that Brian had to face. Um, well, I think Raj should have won that match. I think Brian just absolutely showed up to play in that one. I'm not sure who should have won in his second match, but Brian obviously won. And then I think the level of competition stepped up to Bozeman, where Bozeman has been very good for a long time. So I think he hit a little bit of a wall there. But we'll be interested to see how Brian Strong rebounds. What was your kind of thoughts on the match? Who did you have? Maybe an interesting situation developed for you. What's going on in your head?
The thing is, I don't really know when Brian Strong kind of came into the SWA scene. I don't know if he's like an OG or if he's like
I
season two,
believe he
maybe
was
season three.
I believe he was season 2. I think he made his debut at the Rumble.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because I definitely had Bozeman because of the experience advantage, and I think Brian Strong did really well in his first two matches in season three, but kind of came up short because of all the like expectations and kind of the hype that he
Mm-hmm.
got, and the match stipulation being kind of a big thing because Path to Glory is and like getting into it is one thing, and also winning it is a whole different thing. Just getting into it feels amazing, and it's a big opportunity for you to like show that you can really hang with the top dog. So I
Right.
think
Well,
that
it's
pressure.
yeah. It's
Sorry,
a
was
no. Sorry. It's a title opportunity chance.
yeah.
If you can make your way through the path to glory, you get a shot at the title.
Yeah, pretty much that's how I got mine. So I think what happened was because of the kind of lack of experience compared to Bozeman, Brian kind of crumbled under the pressure, and
Mm,
Bozeman kind of took advantage. Not to take away from Brian Strong, because the match was really reversal heavy. It was really back and forth, but in the end, Bozeman kind of outlasted Brian and
right.
just had that nasty impaler DDT to finish it off.
It's true, and we saw the kind of typical high flying moves from Brian Strong, but it didn't seem to affect Bozeman as much as it did his first two opponents in Raj Rajwana and Starman. Um,
Yeah, Bozeman showed his experience, in my opinion, and I think him winning the match is not that much of a surprise, but not to take away from Brian Strong because he's a good wrestler, just needs to get more and more experience until he's kind of ready for that pressure and also ready to fight those with even more experience than him.
that I agree. I think Brian Strong's still on the path to make a pretty big push here in season 3, so I'm interested to see what happens on that front. But Bozeman obviously makes his way into the path of glory, um, where I guess they'll face off in episode 38 in a tag team, a triple tag or whatever, a 3-man tag, in a kind of showcase match for the elimination chamber later at Countdown. So I'm interested to see how that goes as well. Next match. I think this is the one that you're gonna have the strongest opinion on. Just a feeling. Alonzo Howard versus Zar. Now I thought Zar going into this one was easy money, right? Because the weight advantage was almost twice. I think Howard's like 180, 200. Zar is almost 400, 450, right? Big man. And Czar landed tons and tons of offense, landed tons and tons of big moves, hit the splash, hit the boot multiple times. But Howard kept on getting back up. What is your take on Czar versus Howard?
I gotta be honest, when I first like saw the match live, I was kind of pissed off because imagine hitting that many finishers on somebody, they keep kicking out, they hit you with like two finishers, and then you're done. It's kind of annoying, but at the same time, I'm not too mad because if somebody shows that much resiliency and then wins as someone who is the underdog,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta give him respect. Like Lonzo Howard, he's got my respect for sure, even though I'm a bit miffed that I lost that after all I did. It's fine. he has my respect, and I actually want him to go all the way now, just because of that. 'Cause if he doesn't, I'm gonna be kind of sad.
Right, because
But
he beat you. He beat Zar,
yeah,
and
pretty much.
Zar is like the beast among men in the new rookie class. So if Zar loses to Howard, Howard better go all the way.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I thought to myself, okay, if the big boot doesn't do the job, maybe the full Nelson does. Okay, if the full Nelson didn't, okay, the fucking middle rope shooting star press from a 450 pound man has to do the job, right? No, the guy just kicks out at 2.9. How does that happen? If somebody 450 pounds lands on you with a shooting star press, you're dead. You're not
You're
getting
a
up, but
pancake.
Alonso.
Yeah,
Yeah, Alonso Harvard just decided, nah, I'm gonna no-sell that shit, kick out 2.9, and then kick my ass. Okay.
he's got those. He's got that baby face power where he can kick out of anything. Don't you know? Don't you know
Yeah,
how it works?
yeah, the face versus heel thing. I
Oh
actually kind
yeah.
of wish I made Zar a heel because I gave him some heel traits, but I made him face in the end because I don't even know why. Probably because he's like a showman. One of the reasons he did that shooting star press, which could have
Right.
killed him, broke his neck. But yeah, respect, kudos to Alonso, and I hope he wins.
Well, here's saying I think Czar has a bright future in the SWA, just because you know there's a saying there's no replacement for displacement, and Czar has an awful lot of displacement, I think, in his motor. So we're looking forward to the future of Czar, but Alonso moves on over Czar, and I think this one was Path to Glory as well, but I don't remember. Actually, no, it was Path to Glory. It was Path to Glory honors on this one. All right, next
Even.
match. Um, Paragon versus Doctor Morbius. Now, another kind of pseudo upset. I thought Morbius uh, was going to do well in this one just because we'd seen this matchup a couple times previous. Morbius kind of didn't dominate, but definitely had an upper hand in the match. But this one, Paragon came out steaming, doing his Mr. Clean shakes or whatever they are, and just curb stomped Doctor Morbius. Um, and this is where I want my kudos from Kelzer for saying that Paragon curb stomped Doctor Morbius. But yeah. But yeah, no, Paragon flattens Doctor Morbius. No contest. This was bell to bell, Paragon all the way. What was your take?
I feel like the ending to the match was kind of weird because usually people don't really finish people with a chop block. I don't know what kind of power or like technique Paragon has with his shoulders to inflict that much damage with a chop block to pin someone for the free count. I don't know if he broke Morbius's legs into like 18 different places and Morbius just decided he didn't want to continue. Or if that chop block knocked him out somehow, maybe he slammed his head on the ground along with a broken leg and then took the win. It was kind of weird for me because I expected any move other than like a chop block, an
Right.
ordinary chop block. But I gotta give credit to Paragon. He definitely caused a pretty decent upset in my opinion. I feel like it's not really a pseudo upset because Paragon doesn't exactly have the prettiest record when it comes to like wins in the SWA compared to Dr. Morbius.
Right.
So this was a solid upset, and gotta say congratulations to Paragon. He's definitely on the right track, and if he can continue winning like this, hitting his opponents with even more vicious chop blocks, he can probably make a run for the title, in my opinion.
Yeah, big statement win for Paragon here on a setting up a season 3 push. I think we'll see more from Paragon later in the season, but up next in episode 37, we had Unhinged versus the Quinn brothers. A storied matchup, the classic SWA tag match. We've seen this one at least a half dozen times, I think. Um, Unhinged came down to the ring honoring the late great Scott Hall, performing his entrances in a kind of like touching tribute to the recently passed uh, famous wrestler. But unfortunately, they could not secure the win as the Quinn brothers bounced back from a kind of like a little bit of a slide they had there. What's What's your opinion?
I feel like I had the Quinn Bros because like even though they kind of have been on a minor decline, they were still the tag champions at one point for a reason. And no one is I don't think anybody is like a fraud champion or like paper champion at one point in their career. They have a reason for having that championship in the first place. And even though they've lost it for a while,
Hmm.
they still have the talent of a championship caliber tag team. So them winning was not that much of a surprise to me. I was just the only type of surprise I had was them winning on a pin instead of a submission because the Quinn Bros are known for their submission more so than their pins.
Right.
Kind of like it's kind of like DDT, just not as good, obviously, because DDT is the submission master in the SWA, but the Quinn Bros are definitely have a submission game of their own. So
It's true.
I feel like
They have a pretty well versed submission game, but they're a little bit more kind of well versed in general. They've got some running offense. They've got some punching, hitting, kicking, uh, fighting offense. They have some grappling offense, and they have some submission offense. So they're like really well rounded. I feel, and that's what makes them kind of so good. Where the unhinged, obviously, I believe it's Onyx has a little bit of a submission game, but Slate's all bruiser all the time. So where the Quinn brothers have some kind of uh, variety in their style that they can kind of move around and see like, hey, what's working, what's not working. The unhinged kind of is stuck with their either bruiser or their submission guy.
it's a bit of a tough choice. And against the Quinn brothers, you don't really have the chance or like the moment to like hesitate. So if you do that, then they're gonna take advantage, and that's what they did. They took advantage and they got the win.
There you go. Up next, we had Warren Windham versus Tomio Yamaguchi in another kind of storied matchup. Two of the best to do it in the SWA. Windham, our first SWA champion, versus Yamaguchi, the longest SWA champion. Squared off to earn the right to face Painwrecker at Countdown. A well fought match on both sides, and Windham handed Yamaguchi another singles loss. Yamaguchi on a little bit of a slide here, but the implications from Windham winning, I think, are more interesting, obviously, because Windham shares a tag partner in Painwrecker, who currently holds the championship, and I'm wondering what this means for Warpath. Can you enlighten some of the audience into the inner workings of Warpath right now?
Before I do that, I just want to say all great champions are gonna go on a slide every now and then. So even the Yamaguchi kind of struggling at the moment, I don't think it should be a big deal because everyone will like come back if they truly want it. So congrats to Windham. Windham, he got the win this time, but I feel like Yamaguchi will have his opportunity to bounce back, and I think he definitely will and will have another chance to run for the title. But now that's done. About Warpath, I feel like I don't think this will have that many like implications or like any special plan or anything just because Windham's gonna be challenging for the world champion, at least
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, because I definitely don't have any like hard feelings or like whatever. I'm not looking to sabotage or, like and all that stuff. I just wanna like we're just gonna do our thing as a tag team. If you get a win, nice. If we face each other, may the best man win. No matter what happens, we're still a team. You got my respect.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't reciprocate that, that's fine. But I'm still gonna show you the respect, and then I'll kick your ass later and get back what's mine, if
There
it
you
comes
go.
to that.
There you go.
But
Encouraging words from Painwrecker. Good sportsmanship on display. Um, like I said, it'll be interesting. I'm excited for that matchup, but they have some work to handle in episode 38. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But on to our final match: Bobby Plaster versus Diego Mercer for the Ascent Championship belt. Diego Mercer defends, holds on to it against Bobby Plaster. This has kind of been a brewing feud in the SWA, as the Plaster and Deadfire camps have kind of been back and forth at the beginning stages of season 3 here, where obviously Diego Mercer came on and cut a promo on the podcast, kind of illicitly. He snuck into our voice call, calling out Bobby, calling him a bomb, and he's not good. And then obviously they drop the tag match because Bobby walks out with a carbon copy of himself in his stunt double, Bobby. Um, and they drop the match. So I think this is going to be a growing feud in season 3. But in this match, everyone was ringside for it. Bobby had Bobby. Diego Mercer had his Deadfire mates in Dead Peace and Eric Draven. Um, and after a kind of a slog, there was a lot of offense. There was um, a lot of a lot of red going on, a lot of being cut open. Diego Mercer obviously had a new look with the all red, uh, changed it up from the orange and the white. Um, Kind of maybe hid his bleeding a little bit, but both members I think got cut open pretty early on, and it was a bloody brawl. What is kind of your take on the future of this feud? The Plasters versus Deadfire.
Well, I think this fight was definitely the best fight on the card on episode. I think it was episode 37, right? If I'm
Yeah,
not
episode
mistaken.
37.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, this was the best fight of the card, and rightfully so because it was the main event. So it definitely deserved its place in the main event, and I do think it's gonna be a growing feud. The only question is how bad is it gonna get? Like how intense is it gonna get? How violent is it gonna get? So far, it is violent, but still kind of on the tame spectrum, if you get what I mean. But
Mm-hmm.
it could always get worse, and I'm kind of looking forward and not looking forward to it. As for the match, for a while, I thought Bobby Plaster would actually win the fight, even though Diego Mercer is like an incredible fight, and he is the Ascent champion. He has defended it. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like from what I saw, I thought Bobby Plaster would actually have a chance at taking the win, but Diego Mercer proved me wrong. Did a little comeback stint, hit him with a big missile drop kick, and took the win.
There and that's all it takes sometimes. But it's been said that Diego Mercer might relinquish the Ascent Championship belt to make a push for the World Championship belt. So we'll see what happens there. But he defends in episode 37. He holds on to it for another short while, maybe a couple episodes. Maybe we'll see it up for grabs at Countdown here after episode 38. Um, but that was our little breakdown of episode 37, and I kind of wanted to shift gears more to talking about your wrestlers, Painwrecker, Zar, and kind of by extension, Warpath. Um, Obviously, you told us a little bit about Painwrecker early on in the show, kind of his little bit of a background and whatever. Um, but I kind of wanted to know in the early like days of the SWA. Obviously, Painwrecker has a pretty storied history in these other promotions, multiple world champion, stuff like that. But he kind of flew under the radar early on in the SWA. He kind of had a reputation of being a guy who was everyone knew he was really good, but he didn't really make a lot of noise. He won his matches, very courteous, kind of just left the match. Wasn't loud and brash. Wasn't really uh, too crazy with him, but you know he kept winning. So eventually he makes his way to the world championship. But what was like the reason he kind of goes under the radar? Why do you think that is?
The thing is, the companies he used to wrestle in were definitely not as, I would say, popular as the SWA. Even though the SWA was newer, it definitely got a bigger like reception in a much shorter time than the other ones they did. For example, if I tell you there was a company named the Global Elite Wrestling Company, you wouldn't know what the hell that company was. Ain't nobody heard of it other than just a few locals, which is one of the main places that Penrica wrestled in. And also, like other than there just being a lack of popularity in that company,
Mm-hmm.
him also suffering a career-ending injury and and a spine and back injury after a bit of a botched backbreaker. He people knew that he had the skill, but from someone who was coming off that kind of injury, it's not that you don't really expect them to like be world championship caliber because yeah, they got the skill, but are they gonna be 100% after what just happened to them?
Right.
Painwrecker kind of proved his, Painwrecker moniker to be true by pushing through that, something that's pretty much career ending, and actually became a world champion, contrary to many people's belief. So I think the injury, the career-ending injury, and also the lack of the popularity of the companies he's been in is a lot of the reasons that people didn't really think of him as this like super like main event caliber type of wrestler, and he
Right.
kind of flew under a bit, but he ended up proving I think a lot of people wrong, and he's happy that he has.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't think he had to prove many people wrong. I think a lot of people knew that he was really, really, really good, but he was just so like I don't want to say underwhelming, but so like muted in his style where he just kind of flew under the radar. So it's interesting to hear what you say about that. But I'm interested to hear about the outfit choice for Painwrecker and the bike shorts because there's been some maybe not animosity, but there's definitely been some people questioning Painwrecker's attire for in-ring wrestling actions. So I wanted to hear what the story is behind the bike shorts.
The good old bike shorts and basketball sneakers. Not gonna lie, I kind of didn't expect it to be that big of a deal, but it's kind of funny that it is. But the story behind it is those bike shorts are actually what Painwrecker wore back when he was younger, around 21, 22, when he won his first ever world championship.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of thought of it as I'm gonna come back to the wrestling industry after a pretty bad event. And if I want to do that, I want to come back as somebody who's got that confidence in himself, who is rejuvenated. So he thought, hey, I'm gonna wear something that is pretty important to me in terms of like history. And yeah, that's kind of the story behind it. He wears those bike shorts because that's the outfit he had for when he won his first ever world championship back in the back in a not so popular company.
So there is a little bit of history behind it. It's not just willy nilly. I'm gonna wear bike shorts to piss everyone off.
Yeah, because if we're gonna be honest, that kind of wrestling gear is, as what many people call, kind of like jobber outfit, jobber gear.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, but considering that Pinnaker is this what used to be this, underdog, frail guy back in his day, it's not that surprising to have him wear that kind of outfit, but to end up winning in it is a whole different story.
Is
So yeah, that's
there
kind of
is there any like wardrobe change coming down the line? We've seen him switch the colors up when he's doing his tag matches with Warpath, but is there anything like obviously Ace has had his outfit change many times. Like what's is Painter just gonna keep wrestling in his bike shorts, or are we gonna see a change at all?
actually don't know. I haven't really thought about it that much because I feel like his gear is fine where it is, but at some point in time, everything needs to change to kind of just be up to date, you know. So maybe I there might be some plans down the line, but as of now, I don't really have anything planned, but I will definitely give it some thought, and if anything happens, it's definitely gonna be like a surprise change. It's not gonna be announced.
So with his outfit, I'm interested also in. There's a specific match that comes to mind with Painwrecker, and it's probably a little bit biased on my part because it was Painwrecker versus DDT, where Painwrecker was the only wrestler at that point to kick out of the leg lock, of the ankle lock, the deadly DDT ankle lock. What would like I remember in the crowd or in the Twitch chat on that one, you were popping off in a big way. What was like kind of your what was your play by play of that one?
Uh, I mean, I knew that DDT was a really good, like, well, not really good, like the best submission artist. And I know that Painwrecker had good submission defense, but I didn't think it was good enough to like get out of the most lethal submission move in SWA history like that. And I think it was twice or three times. I think it was
I
twice.
think it was twice. You kicked out two
Yeah.
times, which is more than anyone else had ever kicked out because you were the first to
Yeah.
kick out.
Yeah, and if you want to like take a bit of a deep dive into the like history, like back all the way to the inaugural tournament, in the second round, DDT and Painwrecker went versus each other, and DDT actually made Painwrecker tap. So
It's true.
that's
He
why it's
did.
yeah, that's why it's even more surprising. It was even more surprising because considering like if you tap out to somebody, you don't expect that to change, even if you like work on your submission defense. So it was definitely a bit of a shock, but it was a good shock. I'm actually happy it happened because it that's I think one of the things that opened up like the crowd's eyes into what Painter's capable of, even after everything that's happened. And that's one of the main things that kind of elevated him from a decent wrestler who's kind of under the radar to somebody who's definitely proven himself that he can definitely hang.
Right, and then the challenge ultimately for the world championship because that was the opposite fate for DDT. DDT kind of got relegated to gatekeeper role where he's just on the fringe of the top 10, and if you can beat DDT, then oh man, you can play with the big boys. But the the match versus Painwrecker and DDT, I think, was kind of like a linchpin match in a lot of wrestlers' careers in the SWA as kind of like a people realize that DDT is as Painwrecker's the opposite of a glass cannon. DDT is 100% a glass cannon, where he's only offense and gets crushed anytime he gets hit. Like he just takes so much damage. Um, but like Painwrecker showing up, taking the fight, kicking out of the submission hold twice, I think showed a lot of people that maybe DDT isn't as fearsome a competitor. He's still like a top 10. He's still a top 10 wrestler, but it's like maybe not nearly as scary as he had been up to that point.
Yeah, probably not because people now think that before they used to think of him as this unstoppable like machine that nobody could like escape from like their
Yeah, like
submissions.
if
Kind of
he
like
could get into the ankle lock, that was it, right?
yeah, kind of like Chris Masters with the like full Nelson submission hold, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like back in the day, it was kind of like that, but then like Painwrecker managed to like get out of the submission hold. So people naturally being, just overreacting like always, because that's what they do when it comes to this type of sports. They kind of put down DDT a little bit, but that I don't think they should because DDT submission skill still hasn't changed. It's just that people's like people watch film, they watch back matches that have happened, and they will scout to see if there's any way they can take advantage of someone else, some like their opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's also kind of hurt DDT because people have been scouting more, and now that they know there's a way to beat him, they're gonna try to replicate that. But even so, DDT's still a good wrestler and should not be underestimated, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's fair. Let's switch gears. We've talked a little bit about Painwrecker, current world champion. Let's talk about Zar, future world champion, because I made a joke earlier about it's the age of the super heavyweights, and Zar is definitely a super heavyweight. Um, and I guess my first question is also kind of an extension to Painwrecker. Painwrecker being uh, Iranian American, Zar, I believe being completely Iranian. They're representing a demographic in the SWA that isn't particularly represented. I think in other wrestling promotions. So just kind of like what has been the reception from people regarding Zar and Painwrecker?
People in the US, not exactly the best relationship with Iran. So in the crowd, you can definitely see a lot of USA chants to kind
Mm-hmm.
of demoralize the other wrestlers, but they don't really let that bother them too much because at the end of the day, what you do in the ring matters, not what the crowd thinks of you. And both of them, both Zar and Painwrecker, both are kind of like tweener wrestlers. They kind of flip-flop between
Right.
face and heel, either the company they keep or the actions they do. It's
Hmm.
just really hard to predict them. So they're kind of used to both types of receptions. They're used to cheers, they're used to boos. It doesn't really matter to them. All they care about is taking care of their opponent in the ring, not the good kind of taking care of, the I'm gonna crush you and I'm gonna show you what I'm made of kind of taken care of, if you catch my drift.
I catch you drift. Well,
Yeah,
we're glad
so
to have him in the SWA, certainly. And I personally really like Painwrecker as a wrestler. I think he's a really cool dude. Um, but back to Zar, the big heavyweight, 450 pounds. What goes into like his daily routine to keep up so much muscle?
first rule is lots of food, lots of food. You need calories to keep up that kind of muscle mass, but it's not just those calories. You gotta intake those calories and also get a lot of workouts done.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe maybe some steroid usage, but
Uh
we're not
oh.
gonna get into that.
Uh oh. Well, don't let Paragon know. He'll come steal your supply.
That would actually be a fun matchup, Paragon and Czar for I'm gonna take your steroids match. That'd be
The roid stash match.
fun. But
Jeez.
yeah, you need a lot of calories and you need a lot of workouts. And I have a picture of Czar with one of his like I think it was his dinner. I'm gonna post it for you. Just 450 pounds of thick, just inhaling all the calories he can before crushing it in the gym and then crushing people in the ring.
Fair enough. We know kind of the backstory on Painwrecker, but what's like the backstory on Czar? Obviously, he's a big boy. Obviously, the Iranian juggernaut. Obviously, he's got a boot on him. What's some more of the intimate details? What can you tell us?
Thing is with Czar, he's kind of the opposite to Painwrecker. He wasn't really that much of a wrestling guy. Not Actually not a big fan of like any physical sports, to be honest. He's kind of like that quiet, chill, big guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of those, people go like, oh, he's a huggable teddy bear kind of person.
Right.
He just happened to be a big boy because, he loves his food and he's a nice guy. He's just a big guy and his body mass is not exactly normal for most people his age. So his friends would kind of like tell him about, hey, you should try out wrestling or like pro wrestling because you've definitely got the body mass. All you need is just learning the skills and what you need to do in the ring. And even though he wasn't really a big fan of the whole thing, he kind of reluctantly said, all right, fine, I'll try it out. And as he got more and more experience with wrestling schools, just learning everything there is about wrestling and
Mm-hmm.
just getting the hang of all the, skills, the like holds, the chain wrestling, the moves, all that. He kind of grew a passion for it over time, but it was not something that he had from the start. It was kind of the push that he got from his friends that kind of gave him that passion.
Right.
But in the end, he now has a liking to wrestling. It's just not as much as like other people who are really, really passionate about, wrestling.
We've seen him a couple times already in the SWA. We saw him in the triple threat, which he won handily. We saw him versus Zoe Howard, A Train, where he was kind of expected to win and didn't win. What do you kind of feel like the trajectory for Zar's career is? Because I think he's got a great shot at future dominance in the SWA with even a little bit of ring experience in the current landscape. What are your thoughts? Where do you think he's going?
I wanna not be as biased as much as possible. I want to be unbiased as much as I can, but even with that, I still think that Czar will definitely be a rising star. He definitely will be one of those people that will contend. Because even if we're gonna talk about his loss to Alonso Howard, it's not like he lost badly, not like he got squashed, he couldn't do anything. He got a lot of moves in. It's just that Alonso's like resiliency and
Right.
just perseverance was much stronger than Zar's will to win. Well, not will to win, just he couldn't believe all the times that Alonso kept kicking out, so it was kind of chipping away at his like mental,
Yeah, his
and he lost
morale.
his game.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. And Alonso took advantage of that, took him out with some really nice high flying moves. And yeah, so even with that, since it was not a bad loss, so I feel like even with that, Zar will still be one of the better, if not one of the best wrestlers in the company. Definitely up there. Definitely will contend for the world championship. Maybe not win it, maybe not win it, but he definitely will be in the title picture.
Well, I'm inclined to agree with you just from what we've seen from Czar already. The only thing I may be a little concerned about is any future run ins with any of the submission guys. Obviously, being a big boy, um, perhaps he has some weakness in that area. But we will see if he can dole out the pain faster than he gets submitted. Um, and I guess finally, Warpath, Painwrecker and Wyndham. Going into episode 38, they got a tag match coming up. And then obviously at Countdown, episode 39, they're scheduled to have a championship belt match. So a lot of action from Warpath's two wrestlers, Painwrecker and Wyndham. You kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but what's the kind of what's the feeling going into the tag match? Is it going to be business as usual, teamwork as usual, or will we see some, maybe, as you said, you don't think there will be any sabotage, but Painwrecker is a stand-up, honest guy. I think we've seen Wyndham be a little bit more shifty in his approach. What do you think is going to happen?
It's definitely the latter, because Painter is not the type of guy to like hold grudges really. He doesn't want to like even if he has the chance to like take advantage to sabotage someone to have a better chance of winning an important match like a title match, he's not gonna take it because he prefers that more fair matchup because he won't feel right with himself if he does that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna be business as usual. I know that Painwrecker and Wyndham had some talks backstage. They were talking about it because they both know that there is tension growing when they have to face up for the match for the title.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And from what I've heard, when Painwrecker talked to Wyndham, Wyndham said it's gonna be business as usual for him as well, and that he's not gonna do anything. His feud with Sangres is a lot more like it's a lot more intense than his feud with Painwrecker, if there is any feud at all. His word, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not gonna be thinking of like doing anything to Painwrecker, but you never know. Venom is a heel, and heels are not exactly the
The
most honest
Yeah,
people
the
of the
most
bunch.
trustworthy bunch. Right.
Yeah, so we have to wait and see what happens. But I would like to think that Venom is being honest and is just wants a 100% fair matchup. But I feel like I feel like what's gonna happen is Wyndham and Painwrecker might argue about who's gonna go in first because Wyndham definitely wants to get a shot at Sangres. He wants to fight him again, considering their feud. But Painwrecker will also want to like have a shot at Sangres because they faced up for the title a while ago.
Right.
They're gonna bicker for it a bit, and I think Wyndham is gonna deck Painwrecker just out of nowhere, and there's going to be a 2v1 and just chaos. It's going to be causing a lot of drama between the two before their eventual title fight. That's my take on it. But I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but just what I think.
Well, I suppose we get to see what does happen here shortly. Episode 38, right around the corner. Um, and talking about episode 38, let's talk about episode 38. Let's see what we're looking forward to here. Um, we got AZ, a new rookie wrestler, one that we didn't see in any of our Rookie Showcase Triple Threats versus Kevin Maverick, another brand new, never wrestled Rookie Showcase. Who you got?
It's gonna be hard to tell when you don't really know those wrestlers and you haven't really seen them in action. Like the only place you could really only see them is in the training center, but we don't really have that footage, unfortunately, so it's kind of hard to say. But uh, I honestly don't know. It's gonna be tough. I'm just gonna say out a random name and hope it's gonna be right. I'll go with Kevin Maverick.
He's going with
I'll
Kevin
take it.
Maverick.
Yeah.
Here at the SWA, we did a little bit of a deep dive on all of the new wrestlers a few episodes ago, and if I was going off of like ring appearance, I would like AZ because AZ has I think one of the best in ring looks that we've seen in the SWA. Just a really kind of fresh look for a wrestler. But I might have to agree with you. We know a little bit more about Kevin Maverick's style, being a little bit of a high flyer, being pretty heavily towards running offense. So I'll agree with you. I'll go with Kevin Maverick for this one, but it'll be interesting to see two brand new faces to the SWA fight it out in the ring, and we'll see who comes out on top. Next up, we have Aimo Telapaju versus Dom Juan. This is another interesting one because we've seen a little bit of Dom Juan. Dom Juan hasn't been super dominant, if you will, and Aimo has had a couple nice matches. Maybe not too many wins, but he's had a couple nice matches. So maybe this is where he finally starts breaking out into season 3 form. Who do you think is going to the bell on this one?
Uh, Personally, I'm gonna go with Aimo. I'm not gonna say his last name because I'm gonna butcher it horribly and I'm gonna feel bad. So I think Aimo will definitely take the win because, as you said, Dom Juan has not exactly been the best. Like he hasn't had the best performances so far. If he can turn it around, then good for him, and that'd be nice to see. But as of right now, I think Aimo definitely has the edge, the upper hand.
Fair enough. Um, yeah, I agree with you. I think Aimo has been really, maybe like I said, not both of these wrestlers have been a little bit back and forth. They win one, lose one, but I think we'll see Aimo take this one from Dom Juan, but we'll see. It could be interesting. We'll see if any backstage antics or whatever occur here, um, and maybe shake up the card because the last 3 episodes we've had card shakeups before the episode happens. So next up, Deuce Bennett versus and Merciless Mason Jones versus Black Star, Casey Starr, and Bastion Black, a new tag team. And obviously, Casey Starr we know who Casey Starr is. Bastion Black, we are not fully aware of who Bastion Black is. It could possibly be the mysterious wrestler that bamboozled the crowd and Luke Thompson in Casey Starr versus Luke Thompson a few episodes ago. But we're not sure. Who do you possibly think this is?
I'm in the dark just as much as you are. I have no fucking clue. Sorry for cussing, but yeah, I have no idea. I guess like the only thing we can say is just time will tell because he's got to reveal himself eventually.
It's true. And I think their assignment, not to be down on Deuce Bennett and Merciless Mason Jones, but I think their tag assignment here, Black Star, is a pretty soft softball pitch for Black Star to get into the throes of the tag division, where Deuce Bennett and Merciless Mason Jones have really kind of been the stepping stone for a real tag competition to get past to make it into the SWA tag division proper. But I guess we'll see what happens between these two tag teams on episode 38. Now, I'm looking forward to this next match quite a bit. This is an 8-man rookie Iron Man match for a wrestling spot at Countdown. This one could be really interesting, especially because it has been said that Rock Flag and Eagle, Flint Buckshot, Russell Nash, and like Roughneck Anthony Hager have all kind of just been buddy buddy behind the ring, behind the scenes. So it'll be interesting to see an alliance that has maybe or maybe not formed take shape in this eight man rookie Iron Man match between Tim Bob, Russell Nash, Flint Buckshot, Anthony Hager, John Baptiste, Angel Sabin, Void, and Rock Flag and Eagle. Um, I'm not gonna ask you who you got because this one's anyone's game. But who's like one to watch in this match? Who do you think is gonna show up, and who do you think's not gonna show up?
Uh, oh, that's a good question. First up, I don't. I feel like this match is gonna take absolutely forever. Because do we know if it's elimination or if it's just
Well,
like a first of all take?
I believe it might be elimination because it's an Iron Man, so it could go on quite a while.
Well, if it's elimination, it's probably not gonna take as long, but I feel like it's gonna take forever. Just if it's not elimination, because people are gonna be constantly breaking the pins, even though it's an Iron Man. They don't want anyone to have any like pin fall advantage over the other one.
Right.
But uh, I feel like I'll be honest. I've liked what I've seen from Void so far, so I think one to watch is definitely Void. Even though what he did was dirty, what he did to Ace was not exactly the best move, kind of dirty, especially since it's between wrestlers that are in Nomads. It's in Nomads like manager circle.
Mm-hmm.
Even with that, if you're gonna like not think about that, Void's in-ring ability is pretty nice. So I think one to watch is definitely Void, and one to not really watch. I actually don't have anyone. I feel like everyone is capable. There's not really one that seems like underwhelming to me, in my opinion. I think everybody has a shot. Anybody can take the win, but I have Void like having the edge over all of them. But with these types of matches, where it's just pure chaos, you never know.
That's true. It's also be said a lot of the wrestlers in this match are very tall. Void obviously being the tallest at 7'5" or whatever the hell height he is. He's a monster. Roughneck Anthony Hager's 6'8", 319. Flint Buckshot's pretty tall. He's 7 feet tall. Russell Nash, Tim Bob. They're all kind of big guys. And Angel Sabin and Rock Flag and Eagle are on the smaller side. I'm interested to see how they fare in such a match with such towering figures such as the other wrestlers. So um, I guess if I had to pick someone to watch, I would watch Angel Sabin because he had a lot of really fun high flying moves in his rookie triple threat with Anthony Hager and Alonzo Howard. So I think he's one to watch on this one.
It's a pretty
Up,
solid pick, and I'm excited to see what happens. Sorry to cut you off again.
no, you're good. Barefoot Buddies versus Warpath. Once again, skin in the game for you. We've been talking about this all episode, but I guess the final take, I think Warpath wins this one easy. What do you think?
It's gonna depend on what happens between Painwrecker and Warren Windham. Like, if if Windham and Painwrecker decide to keep it clean, nothing, no animosity between them in the match, then probably. Because if I'm not mistaken, like they already have a win over the Barefoot Buddies. They had a match before Painwrecker's title shot against Sangres.
Mm-hmm.
So they have that 1-0 lead right now, and I definitely think if they manage to keep it clean and no turning on each other, no treachery, it's definitely gonna be a 2-0 lead. But if they don't, and one of them decides to just deck each other for no reason and make it a 2v1 or like a 3v1, I should say, then I think that Barefoot Buddies will take the win. It's gonna depend on what happens between Wyndham and Painwrecker.
So if the teamwork is there, it's Wyndham and it's Warpath and Painwrecker. But if there is some sabotage involved. You think the Barefoot Buddies got it?
Exactly,
All right.
because the Barefoot Buddies are like they're a good team. It's even though they're one of the more smaller teams in the SWA, they're still really good. Their teamwork is on point. They're high flying, like really fun to watch wrestlers.
Right.
So if they have the advantage with Wyndham and Painwrecker not exactly working as a team because of their tension and animosity,
Mm-hmm.
if I should say, they definitely have the chance. But if it's even in terms of teamwork and all that, then I think that Warpath take the win.
Fair enough. Up next, we have Daniel Jake Thomas versus the Beast Calvin Abueva in an off-site, unsanctioned match. What the hell's going on here? What do you think is happening?
The only thing I can say about this, an off-site unsanctioned match, like street fight, maybe parking lot fight, like the ones back in the old wrestling days. I think it's gonna be me. I want to see it be a fight in next to a river, and the winner is the one that tosses the other one into the river. I think that'd be fun
I,
and also dangerous.
right, we saw Daniel Jake Thomas released a sort of promo. I don't know if it could be called a promo more so than like a telepathic message, but uh, we saw him release this promo calling Abueva to Nixia, Missouri, where apparently, according to our records, Daniel Jake Thomas grew up. So it might be return home for DDT, and the Beast might be in trouble. We'll see what happens though on this one. A lot of cloak and dagger, a lot of mystery and mystique around this one. But just as like a match, who you got? Despite all the crazy extra nonsense that's going on here.
Well, we know DDT as the submission guy, not exactly known for, his pins. So it depends on like how the rules are. Like, are we gonna have a referee at this like offsite on
Well,
unsanctioned
it's
match?
unsanctioned, so I am imagining there is no ref.
So with no ref, I feel like there's not gonna be anyone to like watch the submissions, watch the tap. So if submissions are not allowed, then I feel like it's gonna be Calvin Abueva's because Abueva is the powerhouse, dominant, the beast. He's kind of, he's like a better version of the newly like rising super heavyweights that we are seeing.
Right.
So if it's like a knockout fight where you just like pummel each other into like a bloody pulp and then one of them just and the other guy just doesn't get up, if that's the kind of match we're going for, then I would say Calvin Abueva. But if there is somebody to like watch the submission, watch the tap, maybe a referee like maybe watching from the screen, and a cameraman just doing God's work, just zooming in and out of all the crazy shit that's gonna happen, then maybe DDT. But if not, then it's just gonna be a who gets knocked out first match, probably Calvin.
Well, we'll see what happens because there's not a lot being put out about this match. Um, obviously, because it's off-site, it's assumed that they're going to have to cut to a cameraman to watch the match. But we'll see what happens, where it is located, what's really going on here. Um, but I guess we'll check it out in episode 38. But up next, we have the final match of the night, a trios tag previewing the Path to Glory Chamber match, where we have Zayn Ryder, The Machine, and El Puma versus Alonzo Howard, Paragon, and Yasuke Bozeman. Now, these are some interesting teams, but who you got?
Uh, I gotta give this one some thought because both teams have some really good wrestlers, if I'm gonna be honest. You got Zayn Ryder, The Machine, and El Puma. Zayn Ryder and El Puma, in my opinion, even though Zayn hasn't really been that, like, he's not exactly the oldest guy, the most OG guy in the company.
Right.
I think he's the better like the two of them, El Puma and Zayn, are the two best wrestlers on the team. The Machine, while being a decent wrestler, I think he's the weak link between in that three-man team. And on the other hand, you have the perseverant, resilient beast in Alonso Howard taking down the 450 pounds of thick. And then you also
Pure
got Yasuke
muscle.
Bozeman.
Yeah.
Pretty much just thick machine. We got that guy, and then we have Yasuke Bozeman who beat Brian Strong to get himself in the path to glory. And then we got Paragon, who again, just like the machine, I think, even though he's a solid wrestler, he's still the weak link in that three-man team between Howard and Bozeman. So kind of both teams, while being really good, are both evenly matched. It's gonna be kind of tough to call this one. But I feel like uh because of El Puma being being somebody that has gone deep into the Path to Glory tournaments and Path to Glory trials,
Alpuma
like out of all these
also
guys,
Alpuma
yeah,
also ranks pretty highly on the power rankings. I believe the highest ranked member of the power rankings.
exactly. So I think just because of him, Ryder and the Machine already have an advantage. They're already better overall. We still have to see what happens, but just because of El Puma's presence, I think that his team is going to be taking the win.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think the talent on display between the rookie Zayn Ryder, the Machine, who obviously maybe not the most complete wrestler, but we've seen the Machine do very well because of his Machine takedown move. And then obviously El Puma. I think this is an uphill battle for Alonzo Howard, Paragon, and Yasuke Bozeman, who have not worked together before, have not had too much time in the league in the association to really put a true bid for a path to glory uh, belt or a championship belt or a tag match or whatever, where we see a lot of experience on between Machine and Puma. So I think I agree with you that the team of Zayn Ryder, the Machine, and El Puma is going to win. But it could be anyone's match. We've seen Alonzo Howard and we've seen Yasuke Bozeman have just like longevity and resilience and all sorts of um, stick to itiveness and heart and what have you. So I'll be interested to see. Um, I'll be interested to see this one.
Yeah, I think it is a match deserving of the main event. Some might say that it's not, but I think that it is. I think it's a match that deserves being in the main event. Even though there's some newer wrestlers like Alonzo Howard, Zayn Ryder, it's still like packed enough with solid talent and popular enough talent and good enough, skilled enough talent to definitely make the match a main event type of fight. And it's definitely gonna be interesting to see who takes the win. If Alonzo Howard can bring out that resiliency that he showed against Zar, he could definitely help the team stand a chance. But I still think El Puma has the edge.
And then of
So it's gonna be
course,
a
yeah, and then of course this is the preview match for the chamber match that we're gonna have at Countdown. So maybe we'll look to see who stands out, even if they don't necessarily win the match, but look to see who stands out from a wrestling perspective in an elimination chamber setting. Um, we'll see who brings the sauce and who doesn't. But that's gonna do it for our episode 38 breakdown. And we're coming up on the end of our kind of docket. Um, I asked this of Nomad, and this is kind of just like the closing thoughts section. The rumor mill around the SWA is that 2K22 is going to be the future of the SWA, but we haven't heard anything official yet. What are your thoughts on 2K22 or the SWA moving to 2K22 in the near future?
Well, at first, I was not looking forward to it. If I'm being honest, I wanted to stay on 2K19 because, well, if we're gonna, the main bias I have is they removed Christian and Chris Hero, or better known as Cassius Ono, from the game. So
Right.
most of their stuff got removed, like their entrances, their move sets, their stuff. So that kind of put me off. But after doing some research, I found somebody's like theme song, their whole gimmick persona kind of thing, and I thought it fit pretty well with Painwrecker and also Zar. For Painwrecker, it's probably gonna be, I don't know if I should say, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I don't care. I think Drew Gulak's thing, like his song, his just like entrance, all that kind of
Right.
fit pretty well with him, and I kind of like it for him. So that's kind of made it easier for me to be like fine with the transition, like compared to before, for sure.
It's true. I mean, it
Uh,
hasn't been officially said that there will be a transition. I know there's been a lot of rumors in the crowds and in the fan circles, but there's nothing been officially said. But it will be interesting to see what happens if an eventual shift to 2K22 does happen. I'm on the fence. I'm not really here nor there. I know quite a bit about 2K19, as like I've played 2K19 a lot, and I haven't really purchased another 2K game since 2K19 just because they've been kind of mediocre to bad. Just the same game reskinned with less stuff in them. So
standard 2K game.
standard 2K practices, no doubt. But 2K22 seems like they actually took a little bit extra care. They added they added things that would make it more interesting to watch, but they removed things that allowed for customization. So I'm a little on the fence, but I think I would still be excited for a move to 2K22 to see the possibilities and eventual realities that 2K22 could allow us. But for the moment, I like 2K19, and I'm glad we're here. Um, and yeah, anything you want to bring up, anything you want to ask me, or anything else that you want to talk about, Parriyah?
Uh, I guess I do have one question I'd like to ask you about DDT, kind of.
Well, let's hear it. What you got for me?
Uh, you're probably not gonna answer this because it's kind of going a little too deep into like DDT's future, but is there any point of time where you feel like DDT is gonna be kind of freed of his, demonic stuff and be turned back into normal DDT?
Speaking from a creator's standpoint, absolutely. The goal was never to have DDT remain in his demonic form for very long, but the gimmick has worked very well for his kind of character, as well as kind of a foil to Gorgeous Garrison Gray's Disciples of Gray, where they kind of have this holy, like, televangelist kind of vibe going. So the good versus the evil kind of shtick has worked out very well for Dirty Deeds and for Daniel Drake Thomas. So while I won't reveal the official plans that I have for it, I will say that Demon Drake Thomas is not the final form of Daniel Drake Thomas in the SWA.
I'm definitely excited to see what happens. And thanks for answering the question because I know it's kind of intrusive on the plans and stuff, but it's good
I
to
don't. I
know
yeah.
more
No, I don't
details.
think it was too intrusive. I think that everyone kind of expected that Demon Drake Thomas wasn't going to last because of just how ridiculous it is. Um, I think the initial reaction to Demon Drake Thomas was also like, "What the hell? He's turning into a demon. He has horns." But I think it got kind of more accepted over a couple episodes as his progression kind of like transformed him from just this guy who wore a suit to this ripped, like demon with crazy horns and stuff. So I think he's gained a little bit more animosity, maybe. I don't know. But the gimmick is certainly um, going to continue, but is not designed to be the forever gimmick. So we will see a DDT outside of demonic form, possibly in the near future. We'll see what happens over the next few booking opportunities for DDT. But I guess that's all I'll say on that. If that if that answers your question.
Yeah, it did, and I appreciate you answering it for me.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate you coming on, talking about your wrestlers too. It's not exactly the easiest thing to deep dive multiple different like aspects of a wrestler for almost an hour and a half. So I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you reaching out. I think that will conclude our episode 5 of Crazy About the SWA podcast. We've had an excellent time here with Parriyah, special guest. We talked about Painwrecker, we talked about Zar, we talked about Warpath, we talked about the future, we talked about the past. So, Parriyah, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you reaching out to me.
Thank you for having me. I'd be happy to do this again sometime in the future, maybe like season 5, season 6, when stuff is way more developed than it is now.
Absolutely. We'll hope to have you on either then or before then. I'm sure I'll have plenty of openings. I plan to keep doing this as long as the SWA is around. So hopefully we can have you on before then, but if not, we'll see you in a future episode, Parriyah, and I'd like to thank once again the listeners for listening all the way to the end of Crazy About the SWA. If it sucks, please let us know. If it's great, please let us know. Any feedback is appreciated. I do put these up on YouTube. You can if you want to see them, I guess, first before I post them on the forums. You can subscribe there or get information there, I guess, or watch all the old VODs or whatever. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and Parriyah, I'll have you send us off.
Well, thanks for listening to the Crazy About the SWA podcast, one of the best podcasts about the SWA. If anybody tries to rival it, fuck you. You're not going to. Yeah. Keep an eye out for this episode and also the next one whenever it comes out. And any other special guests who wanna appear on the podcast, be sure to reach out to Ralph. He'd be happy to have you on. And yeah, it's gonna be a great time. As I also had a great time, so you're gonna have a great time too. You better.
You better. Well, thanks, Parriyah. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you as well. Thank you everyone else for listening.